очень интересный разговор о...
We expect a very interesting discussion. The project is called the Tatar language on the tips of the fingers, or at the tips of the fingers. And we are expanding the borders of the Republic of Tatarstan, because Tatars live all over Russia. And here we have Gelyusya Zakirova, who is the head of the Department of the Republican Special Library for Blind and Visually Impaired. Khairli Ken, good afternoon. And the second presenter is Aysalu Valeva, who is the editor of the Republican Special Library for Blind and Visually Impaired of the Republic of Tatarstan. Our library, its sphere of activity and operations is to help people who are blind or visually impaired to get introduced to the Tatar culture and Tatar language. Today we are going to tell you about our projects and our activities. Naturally, first of all, it is the publishing of books with relief, use of Braille, and the first books were published back in 1934. And these were the first publishers: Birylev, Sharaf, and Yenikiev. Galimzyan Sharaf was the major Turkologist, and Alexander Birylev, two of them designed special fonts for visually impaired and blind people. Initially, it was the Latin characters, and then a few years later, it was transferred into Cyrillic. So the Cyrillic language was added by 6 Tatar book letters. So further on, we bought special equipment for Braille publishing, and the National Republican Publishing House had a special section for publishing these books. And we revived Braille books in Tatar language with the new computer technologies. And we see here that there are books, not only the literature and poetry and art books and history books, but also textbooks with the use of Braille in Tatar language. And we have quite impressive capacities for publishing books for blind and visually impaired people. We are expanding the list of publications, and they include naturally the books published in Tatar language, as well as translations into Tatar language. Starting from 1961, we have audiobooks being published in Tatar language. We call them talking books or speaking books. Of course, there were, first of all, reel-to-reel recordings, then tape recordings, and now we use flashcards. Since 2009, we started producing books for children, tactile books that they can feel with their hands, and the books allow them to learn more about the outside world. We are improving the equipment, the technical capacities of our books, and we're using several technologies in one publication. We use Braille, we use larger fonts, we use audio formats, all in one publication. This activities require substantial financial resources, and we have quite successful grant projects. And one of these projects is exactly Tatarstan at the tips of your fingers. Our publishing activities, the books that are being published under the aegis of our library, are very important, and they are highly praised at the Republican, All Russian, and international levels. We receive a number of prizes, including international prizes, international prize named after Bianca, to provide access of visually impaired Tatars to electronic information or digital information, together with our organization named Taurus, we developed the first in the world synthesizer of Tatar speech for visually impaired people. So it is basically a way to read the text. It's RH, voice synthesis. In May of 2018, we launched a new project, and this is a project for theater goers and theater fans. We have audio description and commentary plays on stage of theater in the national language. And we use it not only for the territory of the Republic of Tatarstan, but the whole of Russia. The list of plays includes Tatar classics, classical writer, and modern writers, all in Tatar language. I'm done with my part of presentation, and I would like to give the floor to Aysalu Valeyeva, and she will tell you more about our publications. First of all, good evening. Hello, everybody. This year was quite successful for us and very productive. We published a lot of books dedicated to, first and foremost, children. These are the books. Can you see it? The Red Book of the Republic of Tatarstan, mushrooms, animals, and insects. The Red Book of plants and herbs. There are only pictures, but yes, of course, there is a text and description, and they're accompanied with larger fonts and Braille. We all understand that in the families, there are children, different categories of family members. Sometimes there are visually impaired parents and perfectly seeing children, and vice versa. So we have books that are accompanied with larger fonts and Braille. Do you have authors for these books, or it's just a collection of publications? If we take the Red Book, we take information from the internet. There is an official site, internet site of the Red Book of the Republic of Tatarstan. Naturally was adapted, and not all the drawings could be adapted for visually impaired people. But my goal was to introduce descriptive texts to to support these drawings or pictures, this is descriptive comments. And at the end of this year, we are introducing this new project with the support of the Presidential Foundation of Cultural Initiatives. This will be 8 volumes of the books of under one topic, open space. This is space exploration starting from 1930s. Yeah, I see the little dogs, Belka and Strelka, the first dogs in space, and the design and development of the first spaceship, Sputnik, going into the open space. It is noteworthy that our goal is to attract our readers, involve our readers from early childhood to reading, to books, to culture. You mentioned that you're publishing also modern literature using Braille. What authors, what writers do you publish with Braille? There are a lot of writers out of the most recent published with the languages of Tatarstan Republic. It's Yeniki by Maturlak and modern writers, Selima Galimulina. Our readers really love her books. Padina Malikova. We have quite a number of authors. Yes, and writers who are writing for children. Robert Minulin is one of them. Jagat Darzimanov. And of course, there are audiobooks, and there are relief books, touch books. And within the framework of our core activities, I think we publish about 20 books that these are relief and dotted surface. And we are expanding our publications. And we work on the basis of grants, which help us to include the publications that are in demand by readers. Guzel Yachina, one of this is Zelimkha is opening her eyes, or my children, both in Russian and Tatar languages. And visually impaired people wanted to read it, and we published it right away. But you mentioned audiobooks. Who's reading these books for the recording? Since 1961, so this year we are celebrating an anniversary of, we call them talking books. We have a special audio recording studio. We have professionals who provide services for recording of literally pieces, and we invite famous Tatar dictors, speakers, actors who are doing. Speaking of the voice synthesizer, we also use it, and it has the voice of Talavat Khamachin, our well-known dictor. Is there a portal of the library where people can go and listen to the book? We have international library, All Russia library, named Logos, and we place our books there. There are translations of Tatar books into Russian languages. And of course, there are audiobooks by special speakers, commentators with voiceover. And there's, of course, there are special formats of these books, and we can publish these books using special resources only for visually impaired people.
I guess no authors or translators will be against such an opportunity, and I guess that many people will be glad to give their texts, so they will be put into the audio form. In your presentation, you said that you had some plays at the theater. I guess this is the first time in Russia when it happened. It was the first case, yes, in the Tatar language with the audio descriptive commentary. The first theater was the Moscow regional theater, and our theater was the first to carry out this mission in a national language, in the Tatar language. So you are the discoverers in this aspect. Yeah, right now we are expanding the theater material, and we are making it more accessible thanks to the Usmanov Foundation. We also called 3 different theaters. The theater for the Muppet theater for children, and also they have plays for adult audience as well as kids, and the Theater Without Borders, the 4th theater, we have plays in Russian. Could you tell us, if we talk about the technical possibilities, is it hard to perform, to organize such play? Yes, we need an expert in audio description. And we also need to have a look at the play, and after that we just use the video materials of the play itself, of the performance. We also give some comments, and we have them in the written form. We don't have any technical equipment at the theater, you know. So this is the same equipment that you need for simultaneous translation. We just need a device for the expert, or the descriptive expert, who sits in a separate room. He can see the stage very well. And using this commentary, he is just commenting simultaneously everything that is going on the stage. So this is the same like the simultaneous translation is organized. So in fact, all the theaters that can provide the audience with the simultaneous translation, they can also provide you with the audio descriptive commentary. Is that right? Even if you don't have the simultaneous translation at the theater, you can also buy this equipment. It is very important, especially for children. Some kids at a certain age, they start going to the theater, and we have a wonderful Muppet theater, and I'm very glad that it takes part in your project. I also have another question. When we discussed these projects, you said that so we have the Tatar language on fingertips. You also have another project, Tatarstan, on the fingertips. So how is this program expanding? The Tatar language on fingertips, it was a topic for our performance, for presentation. And another project, the Tatarstan on fingertips, was initiated in 2014. And within this project, we are issuing books about our republic and for visually impaired and blind people. The project was supported by the Russian Geographical Society, and we also had grant support. And thus, we are realizing this project, bringing it to life. Sorry for interrupting you. So you are speaking about the regional natural activity, right? Books about our republic, the Russian Geographical Society. First of all, books about geography. In the first place, some architectural monuments about these monuments, also natural monuments of our republic. And we were granted this financial the Crystal Compass Award by the Russian Geographical Society. This is we were very honored when we got this award. So your project brings together people from different spheres, not only writers, as you know, which is natural for any library, but you also have space, geography, theater, art. That's very surprising. It's a wonderful combination from different spheres. We know that right now we are living in times of the pandemic. Many people they have this impairness, but is your library popular? Do you have many visitors coming to you? About 4,000 readers. Right now, we have a certain the number is going down right now at the times of the pandemic. We also have out of stationery service when we send books by mail. We also go to these readers place to their homes. If a certain reader can't come to our library, we go to his place ourselves. Those people who are avid readers, they don't see any borders. They go on reading. We also worked online during the lockdown. We also used social networks in Vkontakte, Facebook, Instagram as well. And we kept working. We kept telling people about our activity, everything that our employees did during the lockdown. We also wanted to tell you about the tactile books. And you also mentioned how wonderful it was that the theater Kuklaket takes part in the project. And they need to get adapted to reading, to get adapted to the life itself. They need to see the world as it is, to discern certain aspects of their life. This year we had 14 books, new 14 books, books that are connected to the peoples of our republic. We have 18 different peoples. The majority are Tatar people and Russian people. Other peoples are 1%, maybe 3%, but we are all just a big family. There are many multi-ethnical families in our republic, and today we can see the Udmurt fairy tale that is called Inmar and Cat. Here you can see the book that has the text itself, the point system, Braille type. There are some toys. Children, with the help of teachers and parents, can read these books. They can study using these books, and they also use these books in kindergartens. We have about 200 books in our library, and we give them to our readers. We send them by mail, by post. and we would like to show you this book, this fairy tale. This is the German fairy tale. In fact, it is very similar to our Kolobok fairy tale. And you can see that there are certain toys in this book. And we have a whole Muppet theater here. You can see that children and parents, they can study, they can read using these books, and it can be a hobby, not just studies. And the main goal of any tactile book is to make kids relaxed, so that the kid develops his hand movements. The children develop the so-called fine motor skills, fine movements, but 90% of the information is perceived by eyes, and they don't have this opportunity, unfortunately. So the only thing that we can do is to help them develop other ways of seeing the world. Right now, nowadays, during different events dedicated to the children literature, we had the World Congress in Moscow this year, not long ago. Many speakers said that step by step, the books are being moved to the background, and children are more attracted to video and audio content. Those people who don't see very clearly, I guess that they will be attracted to the audio content. And are you not afraid of this trend? Maybe new technologies will make books more outdated. Yes, we hear this point of view quite often, and many people are discussing this. While I was working here, I heard that I heard that a lot, actually. So when we compare books with e-books as well, but it is still very important, and a lot of readers that know the Braille type, the number of these readers is going down, and we are making these books popular. We're trying to do our best, but I guess that the books will never be extinct for readers, because this is illiterate if we just take the books out of our lives. I guess it is linked to the physiology of children. Kids, they need fine motor skills. It is very important to all children, those who hear, those who see, but visually impaired children, they have a certain meaning into reading books, into using the Braille type. Visually impaired children and children, their parents, they need to use all the channels that are possible for making books popular, and to help their children perceive the world and get new information. I would like to say that there are still mothers who want their children to develop. They play themselves with their children. They sew with their children. They are doing everything themselves. My colleagues from America said that it was quite a paradox for them, and they said that children start reading better when they start writing. So it is interconnected. They make handmade books. They just take sheets of paper, they glue them together, they make illustrations, and they are making up stories. And they believe it is a perfect formula. This is a children creative work, and also getting to know literature better. This is, some power that is given to children. Do you have something of the same kind at your library?
Of course, special teachers work with children. They're using plastic substances, plasticine. As for the books, well, there are special tactile books that children use for making up their own story. They even invent their own endings for the well-known fairy tales, and they use toys for making stories. So it opens their minds, expands their understanding. And here's a question: how the library is trying to attract more Tatar readers. We have various contests and competitions every year, including those that are intended to popularize Tatar language. We have a contest of the best reader by the number of books read during 1 year. And there is also a special nomination, the best reader of Tatar language, Tatar literature. And we have similar nominations for readers of Braille books. And of course, we use various intellectual games to develop the language. We work in this direction very hard, yes. Gelyusya, tell me, the library is located in Kazan, the capital of Tatarstan. Are there any libraries outside the capital? Yes, our library is in the Moscow district of Kazan, the capital of Tatarstan. There are several buildings where the blind and visually impaired people live. And they live there since the Soviet years. We have factories and enterprises that employ visually impaired people. We have 5 branches in other places of Tatarstan. One is in a different district of Kazan and other locations. So that we do our best for the books in special formats to reach the readers. In the regions where we do not have our branches or subsidiaries, we work through our partners, other libraries. We send our books, our materials, audio materials there. We cooperate with the libraries so that the libraries can. We also accept distance readers, and we use postal services to send the books to the readers. Our library is the only is the single and only publisher of Tatar books in Russia. So we support visually impaired Tatars in other areas of Russia. We have a network of specialized libraries for blind and visually impaired people. And of course, there is a trend to add this libraries to regular libraries, to traditional libraries, but we will develop our network and cooperate with our fellow colleagues, librarians. Today, this morning, we had Zoom meeting with Samara. This is a city on the Volga River in Russia, with Kazakhstan also, and we conduct such activities. And what is the language you're using for communicating with Kazakhstan? Of course, with Kazakhstan we speak in Russian, but the elements of Tatar language are present in Kazakh language as well. So we use musical pieces during these events, or we greet them in our native tongue. We're trying to insert bits and pieces of our language here and there when we communicate with our colleagues outside of the Republic. Our Republic is 85 years old. This year we celebrated the anniversary, and we held a conference. We invited colleagues from all over Russia, and we invited colleagues for this conference. Also, this year, we celebrating 100 years anniversary of the Society of Blind and Visually Impaired People of Tatarstan. We would like to make this movement, this society, be more popular among people who need their help, and we support talented people. You mentioned that, unfortunately, the traditional mainstream libraries are adding to themselves or joining them, the libraries for blind and visually impaired people. Well, this is done to optimize the cost, to reduce the costs, because this is a merger of legal entities. There are regions which understand the importance of working and supporting the visually impaired people, but sometimes important thing as publishing business for visually impaired people is strongly limited. So in this case, we see that the visually impaired people really suffer from this situation. Are there libraries and Braille dictionaries for foreign languages? Maybe there's some people who know foreign languages who come to your library. There are such dictionaries, very few of them. Mostly our collections include books in the Russian and Tatar language, and of course we have Tatars who know Braille English Braille language. If a visually impaired person knows Braille and knows the language, then I don't know exactly how it works. I think it's quite an interesting situation. We never think how this works in the minds of visually impaired people. How do they read? Braille is a universal system built on 6 points, 6 dots. Is it universal for all the languages? Yes, for all languages. And of course, there are certain peculiarities, additional books, additional letters in the alphabets. we had Tatar letters designed as Braille in 1930s. And I think there are quite a number of such languages with Braille. Bashkir, Chuvash is one of them, to name the few. As I understand, alphabet was changed several times in the Tatar language. But if there are books like with Arabic characters, do you have any experience in translating this into Braille? Unfortunately, these books were not preserved. Yes, unfortunately, these books have not been preserved since 1930s. I think the earliest book we have belongs to 1940s. I forgot to mention to you that the books using Braille were first published in 1930s by the Tatar publishers, national publishers, and in 1980s, this publishing was closed, simply shut down, and there were no books published in Tatar language and Braille. Understanding the importance of providing a channel for communications for visually impaired people and allowing them to read books in the Tatar language, we launched our publishing facilities. And of course, we use computer technologies. And our library started publishing books, printing books with Braille since 2000. Still, there is a question. How do you view your future? Where do you go in your development? Of course, that's an important question. Library is a big cultural space where the books will be accessible and available not only for visually impaired or blind people, but for everybody. Recently, I visited your new building of the library. It is so beautiful, so nice. A lot of space, a lot of light, many halls, and I wish this library to continue developing, to stay as beautiful as it is. And of course, when there is such beautiful people as you are working there, it is really great. Thank you for this wonderful discussion. Sometimes we think it's quite a narrow specific subject, but I think it's quite a general talk, and it would be interesting to hear the opinions of our readers who follow the trends of Russian and Tatar literature. Thank you. Thank you. It was very nice and interesting and very informative. We stay for cooperation. We stand for cooperation. We support. If you have any ideas, we will be happy to listen to them. Thank you for letting us tell about our activities within the framework of such an important event and forum as the Frankfurt Book Fair. Welcome to Tatarstan. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All the best. Thank you, dear readers, and see you soon.